All right. Hello, Leanne. Yes, good morning. Welcome to Mid Morning Medium Chat with the Black Swamp Medium. Hello, hello, hello. So, how is everybody doing on this lovely Saturday morning? Uh, I'm not sure if it's the same for all of you, but it's absolutely the weather. The temperatures are great, but the rain is on and off constantly, so that's been crazy. Hey, good morning, Lindsay. So so hopefully it's not raining by you. I heard some reports of some of my northern Michigan friends are seeing some possible snow, whether it was to last night or today or something like that. I have actually looked at the radar. I've been focused on other things, so I'm not sure, but it sounded like I saw a couple things going on. Okay, Lindsay's in Indiana, so she's probably seeing most of the stuff I'm about to get, or at least somewhat of it, or part of it. Depends on how the storms are tracking, but hey, that's always fun. But so yeah, all right. Well, we made it through another week, and I am back again today. And sorry, I guess I'm just really needing the coffee right now. I mean, I had one cup about an hour ago, so I've been kind of waiting to have the second cup. Anyway, so, can't help that. Well, like I said, you got to bring your drinks, to the show today. So, or in all every show for that matter. But yeah, let me. Well, like I always do, I did write. If you guys saw in the write up for today's show, uh, the I had somebody reach out to me and they were really curious about some things about psychic abilities and stuff. So I thought I'll touch base on some of that because obviously it would be a long deal. All right, nice, Lindsay. um, so it'd be a really long time to do that, uh, but yeah, I just want to like I always do. I kind of since I've been doing these more this month, and then the fact of instead of writing it and then saying it, I just kind of not touch base on everything during the week during a written post unless it's something really significant or and whatnot. But uh, yeah, so I mean, week wasn't too bad. Started off a little rough still because I still was just dealing with all kinds of uh, anxiety and panic attacks, for various things, and so it's just one of those things, whether it's this time of year, whether it's astrological, whether it's there's a lot of different numbers of things that are going on that could possibly trigger attacks, and even then, just with yeah, like I said, with everything that's going on and stuff, so that can cause some unfortunate days, where you kind of like oh. And it's just kind of like that, but little bit every day it kind of got a little bit better, and then finally it wasn't so bad to where I wasn't too miserable and functioning and doing just all the normal things I do. I did have this week off. It was my last of the my vacation time before I work start Monday. I work the next 8 business days, 8 business days, before then we go on holiday break. So uh luckily there's not a whole lot. Getting towards the end of the year, most companies, whether this is their busy part or now you're finishing it off with all your busy assignments, getting all the year end stuff closed up and things. So we're basically in the same bout that we're pretty much shutting down. A lot of our tickets and stuff like that are pretty much down to there's nothing much more we can personally do. So right now we're just monitoring things, and so I'm slated, knock on wood, that next week, it shouldn't be too bad. Just kind of making sure I'm paying attention to stuff and and not dozing off at the desk. Luckily, I get to do that from home. So, but it's not supposed to be too chaotic and too crazy, and then some possibilities, some little things that might come up, um but I would imagine that maybe the first few days there'll be if there's going to be anything, it'll be in the first 2 to 3 days, and then by the end of this week I can't imagine that if there's going to be a whole lot, because the following week you see obviously Christmas, And so Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in years past, it's the week of or the couple days prior to Christmas. I think most people understand it that it's pretty rough. So, oh, thanks, Sarah. We did well. I mean, as good as it can be. I mean, you know, there, there wasn't a whole lot to really do, and we're just we're cautious about things, so we don't really do a whole lot. Um, we did. I'll jump ahead. We did for the first time. My wife and I went, kind of finishing up some Christmas shopping and things like that yesterday. So that was the first time we've really been together in public, which sounds weird, but you know, um, but it was the first time in a while, just going around to a few couple, places and things. Good morning, Melissa. And so it was, it was decent, as far as crowd wise goes, but it's luckily we got a lot off the list, so I mean I can't complain about that. So that's nice to get behind us, but yeah, it was weird, but luckily it wasn't an all day thing either. So you feel me on that? You'll be shopping all day long, exhausted. But so, but yeah, but I'm trying to think what else. Gosh, it's weird. It's almost like I should have a cheat sheet. But see, again, this would, if we were all hanging out like we're supposed to, do, and we'd be sitting around and just whatever pops up. And so I still kind of let that happen here. So that's why there's not a true agenda for things. But yeah, so I mean, in case there's new people, this is more, I guess I should start doing that, repeat myself a little bit, that I basically come on here, I'm a psychic medium, a remote viewer, shaman, a healer, paranormal investigator, and the goal, overall is just to kind of sit down, talk, kind of share what's going on with me, like, whether it's some interesting cases and stuff, and then uh, you know, answer any questions that anybody has. So if you want to write anything, it doesn't matter what it is. Well, I should say, keep it to the things that I'm into, as far as, like I said, mediumship and spirituality and uh, paranormal stuff, and things, because I'm not going to really get too much. There's obviously certain subjects out in the world that I'm just not going to touch it because of how sensitive it is to people, and believe me, I just don't want to go there anyway. So, but absolutely, anybody's got any questions, fire that off, because like I said, at the beginning of the show, somebody asked about, last week, hit me up privately and was asking about psychic stuff. So I will touch on that in a little bit. But yeah, other than that, the week was decent, and so I'm hoping that, oh, I know what I left off with the fact that, Christmas week, in a week, like just over a week, and week and a half away. Those last few days, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be super slow. So I'm I, those are going to be rough ones to me. So going to be lots of coffee and things, to at least make sure that I'm keeping the computer awake and not going into sleep mode, which is, I think some people can relate. When you're just dead, it's hard to really do anything or find anything, especially when considering we're not truly on site right now just because of all the pandemic and things. I think it's kind of hilarious that it's those last 3 days are going to be horrible. Woo! But anyway, but yeah, so I mean, but things are cool. I'm trying to see if I can get back into a little bit more swing of things, because again, with some of the panic and anxiety attacks, when especially when you don't really have a clue exactly what it is, or you think you do, and you're trying to fix it and resolve it, it kind of pulls me down. And you know I think a lot of people, that do this kind of work in mediumship and stuff. I mean, a lot of times they're kind of finishing up, because they tend because a lot of us are at that point where it's, even though with everything that's going on, we're at a point now where, the end of the year, we're all exhausted, even if it was normal. But hey, good morning, Kathy. And we're exhausted, so we're all trying to catch our breaths. We're trying to just finally relax and let our hair down, so to speak, and uh, just recuperate, because it can be exhausting. Well, now this year, obviously what's going on, there's been other elements that have kind of tied together, which, still, even though it hasn't been constant or, constant work or, being able to do this and that, we're still kind of, in a state of exhaustion. And so, I'm no different than a lot of others. I I push myself, and that's something I've talked about and wrote about before. And I push too hard, and then I go down for a little bit, I go down longer than if I would have just taken a day or two for myself and and rested. Instead, I feel like I got to keep going. And you know whether it's taking on, doing a reading or working a paranormal case, and doing a lot of that stuff, I just keep pushing because I feel bad that if I can't keep up with it, and I don't want to let anybody down, but yet then I suffer in the end. So that's things that you guys wouldn't see, unless you see like an absence of posting, or hey guys, I'm just not feeling it today, or even worse, it's like right now we're trying to do this, every Saturday this month, the show. And I hate to be like, man, I feel like garbage, you know, but at the same time, I would only do that if it really was necessary. I mean, there's obviously days that, are worse than others, and I think we all go through that, where it's, you can only fight so much, and then, you really just got to say, okay, I'm just going to kick my feet up and I'm going to chill today, because that's just what I need. As much as you want to push through it, and yes, there is things you can, but there's moments where you can't, and that's, there's nothing wrong in that, but if there's a, I've always told you guys, is, do the best you can, fight through it. If you can get through it, great, but there's no harm if you got to relax, and typically, like on bad days and things like that, that's that day, let it happen, whatever you got to do, and then try the next day to try to start picking yourself back up again. Hey Scott, how you doing? Yes, yes, we are gonna work that out. Um, I almost forgot about that. So yeah, we want to make sure we get that set soon, because I think we should be pretty good. Whether it's next week or the week, well, early the week after, obviously with Christmas and things, but definitely have you or Linda hit me up privately, this weekend or next week, so that way we can start to kind of look at dates. All right. So, yeah, but that's kind of like, the gist of this week and things like that, and what's coming up as far as me going. Um, but yeah, so again, somebody was asking about psychic stuff and psychic abilities. And uh most of you know, some of you probably don't, but I kind of share just the part of it that sort of got me into this entire thing. Oh, good morning. Morning, Elaine. And yeah, I know, I heard, that's what I thought. And I know you're up there a little bit further, so I was curious, because I know down here it's just pure rain. So I thought I heard, the people in middle and upper Michigan were getting a little bit more dumped on. So hang in there. um but yeah, so to give people an idea of, whether you've heard this a million times from me before, and you can probably hear it a million more times, and it's in my book. So once that finally gets done, which I should be doing that, but my bad. But uh so growing up, a lot of people that know of, people know a lot of the mediums that are out there, they all have a, hey, good morning, Ron. They all know from an early age, from some of the earliest memories, their earliest thoughts, their, of seeing things and hearing things, and talking to things and interacting, all that stuff. And I didn't have that. But the one thing that I did have, which started in the 80s, it was almost late 80s, was psychic moments. And most of you that are old, like uh us, and I'll say us in general, however you want to, you want to still say you're young, that's fine too. But I don't have a problem saying I'm old, even though I know I'm not that old yet, but I'm old. It still takes a while to recover from things, you get a little boo-boo, it's like, oh man. Good morning, Carmen. And so I uh it was weird, because the very first time it happened was actually in 87. And I guess, I mean, I'll keep some details out. So yes, Donnie, I'll keep some details out so that way they'll be that way it'll look it, if you get the book when it's ever released, whenever I finish it, that way you can actually then kind of add, put the dots together a little bit more. Uh, but within the family, I went to bed. We family member wasn't doing so well, and it was pretty much we just knew at any point, that it was going to be over. And the one night I went to bed and I don't remember having any trouble falling asleep because again this was a long time ago, but I remember having this dream, and I guess that's the best way to put it. I had this dream, and like a lot of us do, you have dreams where you feel like you're you know totally interactive with stuff, and everything's going on, and people, and everything looks so everything it was weird because it almost was like I truly sat up for real, got out of bed, and then everything from that point on of waking up, was I this I remember going to the bathroom, and I remember hearing the front door opening it, and so and just how it all set up, it was weird because everything I could see and experience and hear, it was like, wow, that was weird. But and then as that whole sequence played out, I remember then truly waking up, and then I realized as I was going through the motions, I was literally doing identical to what was happening, and it didn't click at first. It wasn't till I got to the point where I was hearing the news and where I was standing, how people were, who was saying what, where people were positioned, and then the after effects of it. Good morning, Cindy. That it was weird because it was an emotional moment. I kind of was like a deer in headlights because I was now the cross between losing a family member and then trying to figure out, in the other hand, what why did I just have all that literally, the last like hour or so ago, asleep? Why did all that stuff play out? And here it is happening exactly how I dreamt it, really. And so I, like I said, I was in that middle ground. It was sad and everything, and it was the same thing I saw. But as the hours went on, and you know, it was a school day, or there wasn't quite a school day, but there was just things that I'm just like, what is, So I was trying to figure all this out, and I just was dumbfounded, and so the whole thing, go through the whole funeral and all that stuff, um, and then for a while, obviously, it was a constant thought process of what's happening. And back then, I didn't tell any, hey, good morning, Dad, good morning, Carrie. I didn't tell anybody because back then, you don't say stuff that's really off the wall and strange. And they would just be like, oh, it's just a one thing. And so I never told anybody because who was I going to tell? I just didn't want, I just didn't feel, I didn't want to be, ridiculed or made fun of or whatever. And even then, at that point, I was only 10 and a half years old. So that was still pretty young. you know. Now that I gave that away, you guys can do the math and figure out how old I am. so, but um, so and for that point on, after that, nothing else really jumped out psychic wise. And so I eventually kind of faded away. It was always still there, it was always still a memory, but kind of faded away. And then it happened again a number of years later for another family member, and it was weird because it was basically the same setting, and it was just all this, getting set up, and then um uh you know again, the whole thing from top to bottom, from how I found out about it. Hey, good morning, Phil. Hey, good morning, Dennis. And how I was finding out about it, and who was where, and all this stuff was happening. And it was just, again, it reminded me of what happened with the other family member. And so I'm just like, this is okay, this has happened again. Now, why am I having these? And so again, this was that point, it was in the 90s. So it was, quite a few number of years later. But I was blown away because it happened, and then after that one, it started happening a little bit more frequently, and I wasn't, it wasn't anything that I was doing, as a at that point, being a teenager and stuff like that, I wasn't purposely triggering something. I wasn't trying to, hey, I want to know what's going to happen, like I can do that now. And so that's true. It's like a, fine wine or, barrel of whiskey, one of those good things, right? So, as a reference to my dad's comment, uh, but yeah, I mean, and so little things started happening more. And then when I graduated high school, they stopped for about well, the psychic stuff stopped for that, that time at college. But I started having paranormal things that appeared, at college, which I thought was weird. Right. And uh, I, and then when I got out, graduated college and I came back home and had to get a real, a real job for the time being until some other stuff became available. Um, but so it was still little hits one in here and stuff. But eventually, I landed a good, AV job, and I started having these moments more frequently. And it always was something with me involved, which, some psychics will truly only know about like something with other people or something with the world or and things like that. Whereas everything I kept doing, it just kept happening personally. And so it became interesting because it got to the point where it wasn't always like a major event that I was involved with, not all of them, but some. And then it was just little things. And the one I love to share with people all the time is I was, you know, the guys, at work, we were all roughly about the same age. And so, a lot of us, remembered, some of the old classic cartoons. And it was weird was I was driving the day before. I was just driving. I was in town, in my hometown, and I kept having out of nowhere. I wasn't thinking about cartoons. So I think I was even listening to music, so there was nothing reference to cartoons or anything. But the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, popped into my head out of nowhere, and I'm like, what? I'm like, why am I thinking of Rocky and Bullwinkle? I mean, it's like I haven't seen it in a number of years, and nobody's been talking about it. So I'm like, that's just really weird. And so next thing I know, I the very next day at work, before we, had our jobs to where we had to go and do this and that, uh, you know, we somebody brought it up there where we were starting to talk about cartoons and stuff. And then a couple people were sharing, like, hey, you do you remember this one? You remember this one? And then finally somebody said, oh my gosh, do you remember the one that, with Rocky and Bullwinkle? And I kind of sat back in my chair and I'm like, well, isn't that weird? Here it was the day before out of nowhere. I was thinking about it. Today, out of nowhere, everybody starts talking about cartoons and then going back about old cartoons, and Rocky and Bullwinkle comes up. And I'm just sitting there the whole time and, you know, giving my, comments and things about it. But I wasn't saying, what I experienced because it just blew me away. And I'm like, what? So that was in early 2000. So the 2000 era, well, which we're still in, but I was so at that point I knew something was truly going on with all those things that have happened prior, and then all these little things that were coming up, just small things. It was like, here's a topic, and then that's gonna be it. Yeah. Yep. And I'm just like, okay, so I'm trying to, what was it? So, I started, you know, obviously the internet was starting to become a thing. And so, you're trying to do some research, and obviously, you know, I really want to talk to somebody, but at that point, there wasn't really a lot of holistic fairs, and, I didn't know anybody personally. Good morning, Laura. Hope your birthday was great yesterday. And, I, so who, and I was, shy enough to where it's like, I feel weird trying to share a story like that with somebody, and then they'd just be like, yeah, whatever, which was the same thoughts I had, when it first began. But I was uh sitting there just like, what do I do? But interesting enough, we fast forward to uh 2012 where, obviously seeing a lot of the ghost hunting shows and things, the early ones, and got excited about that. And so, again, I'm not going to dive into that because it's big. But my dad, who's in the chat room, he was playing, in a band, and he was playing at the old mill and museum, which you guys heard me talk about dozens of times. And they had ghost hunting flyers, and so long story short, we end up booking it and going, and in the process of it, getting to know the team, SWPI, uh, you know, it was uh they had a psychic medium on the team and stuff. And so it was like, oh, I got an opportunity to finally, share this with somebody after all this time, and now I should say 2005 is when I started a spiritual journey where I started learning to communicate with my own guides and angels. And so that was starting to be a little bit more helpful. And then again, then when working with somebody truly, side by side, like I did with my good friend Jeannie Clock, you know took me under her wing, because we talked and I shared the stuff I was going through, and so it was just a lot of that opening, because we all do possess it, whether you believe it or not. It's, are you willing to explore it? Are you willing to continue to open that door and learn what it is that you can learn? I mean, maybe psychic stuff's your thing, maybe mediumship's your thing, and tarot reading, and all the other things that are out there. But I was big into it because of learning to already communicate with my guides. I wanted to kind of cross over to communicating with spirits and seeing if there's a way to help them. And then so I focused on that. And then during that process, I realized that for me to trigger the psychic stuff, because I was so focused on communications, that I kind of pushed all the psychic stuff a little bit to the side. Didn't stop, from all the things from happening. I mean, I had some stuff just yesterday and the day before. Things came up, and I was just kind of like, oh my God, glad it still works, even though I'm not purposely triggering it. Sometimes it just pops in there. But I now, because I do really work with my spiritual guides, I really can truly just say, hey, we need to know, I need to know about this, or somebody's dealing with something, what do we know, can you. So essentially, I'm sitting there asking the questions to get that kind of psychic, the answers, so that way I can either use them for for myself, for my knowledge, or if somebody's asking about something. And so that's all I do. And to me, because if people are really interested in that, it's not going to be easy for some. Some of you we've talked about this in offline, and in face-to-face meetings and stuff. I mean, I spent a lot of work doing this, because it isn't the easiest stuff to unlock. I mean, but you can. And so, if it interests you and you really have a drive for it, well, then, by all means, go for it, because you know, I it's gonna be one of those things, because it's not. And like I said, I tell people, don't, this isn't something you wanna try, because this is some serious stuff that you're gonna get into. And so you really gotta know. And when I people want me to help teach them to get started and help them out, I'm all for it. But I always make sure that they understand that if you're going to make that decision, that I'm really going to go down this road and open up that door, that you're serious, because you start to open up communication doors and all that stuff. It's not as easy to close it, because it's not just like what you can physically do, open a door and close it. It's you're going to really take some time to have to pull that door shut. And it's almost a lot more work, just judging by what I've seen, to get it closed, versus to slowly kind of push that door open. It a little bit easier to push it open, and I should say little is really little, than it is to, once you've gotten it open, or at least can get your head through the door, to start to close that sucker, because it really uh it can really, it's, again, it's difficult, and it's not easy. It's not for everybody, but everybody's more than capable of doing it. It's just, again, how much work do you want to put into it? And that's all I have done, is just constantly keep putting the work in. And now that I've been doing it for a while. Now it's not as difficult as it used to be. But that's the cool part is, for me, it took years to get to where I was, and you know, it was I didn't think about it, and I never worried about an end time because it's going to happen when you want it to happen. Well, I should say, it's going to happen because of the intention you put into it. So, if you really want it badly, and all your guides and your angels, however you want to look at it, are there supporting you and giving you advice and helping you along. They're the ones that are going to be, judging and where you're at. And if they feel like you're still going to be going, well, they're going to keep giving you advice as long as you keep reaching out to them. I mean, they're not always going to give you, they're not always going to tap you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, did you meditate today?" Some of it is on you because again, that's when you make that decision, you have to go for it. And I'm glad that when I started it, it was prior to when I had children, because I could imagine if I would have started this when my kids, right after my kids were born, I don't think I would have been able to do it, to have the quiet time. Because when you just have one other person, in the house, or really at the time an apartment, it's not hard to be like, "Oh, I'm just going to go meditate in another room." And that's cool. Now you try to go someplace in here and it's just like there's somebody's going to be making noise or somebody's going to be walking by. And I couldn't imagine trying to really focus on this. I'd have to be like putting on noise canceling headphones. But again, it's not to discourage people, because your situation is your situation. But at the same time, you just have to get creative in how you're going to make it work. And uh, so just like everything else, I've been able to kind of, once I really felt the communication side was good, I kind of started going back and working with my guides a little bit more on psychic stuff, because I've had people, say, "Hey, I'm just kind of curious about this," or, this job opportunity or this relationship. I mean, it's, all those things. And they give me the same messages. "Hey, good morning, Margaret." They're giving me the same messages as if I was giving a reading for them, because even my guides will come in and even kind of slip information in saying, "Hey, they should be doing this or stuff." "Hey, good morning, Cassie." And so that's what's fun about it is you really got a kind of like a team that's behind you. And when the team's behind you, your guides and your angels, and even then when you're working, if you are doing a reading for somebody and their loved ones are coming through, I mean, you kind of have this big team that's all right there, and everybody's working together, and everybody's kind of talking and helping you get that information so you can give that to your client and things. So um uh it's fun. I mean, it's fun. Can be frustrating, obviously, but it's at the same time it's a lot of fun. Yes, Lindsay. It's always it and even then, obviously, once the kids get a lot older, they're not, of course, not going to be as crazy. And especially if, I mean, not right now, but like, if they're hanging out with friends at their friends' houses, or they're at events and things, obviously you'll have some quiet time at home. But it's, again, just trying to be creative. And obviously you don't want to wait until they go to bed to start your things, because if you've had a long day and a rough day, and it's you're going to get exhausted. And by the time you start your meditation, which it's okay, but if you're really going to be trying to do some, help and receive some information to help guide you, the more exhausted you are, the hard, even though you want your brain to be quiet, but at the same time, there's the whole physical exhaustion to where, you're mentally wanting it, but your body's just like, we've just been through too much today. So that happens. I've uh I've had rough days, and you try to work with a client on whatever, and it just is like it's just not happening. It's just the information's just not coming through, and I'm tired, and so it's how it is. I mean, anybody that's ever gone to a festival or holistic affair, those type of events, where if you've gone and you've seen the readers that are all usually over off to the side and things, you know uh, doing this one after the other, it by the end of the day, yeah, you're pretty spent because it's just constant energy changes all the time. And it's a lot of fun. It's fun to be able to share that information and get those messages to your clients, and to see their reactions, and that's that it makes it worth it until when you're finally done and you finally can like turn things off. Then that's whenever it's like all of a sudden not that it's adrenaline, but just all that energy just kind of like goes out, out. It's like the last little bit leaves, and then you are done for the night. Happy. I mean, I mean, the first time I ever did a holistic fair where I was doing, a lot of readings, even with a break in there, I still, had some energy left. It was funny. It was when I was driving home, which was about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. It was a good hour into the drive, half middle somewhere, wherever it was, and it was finally hitting me, and it was late at night, which is a bad thing, you know, and it was thunderstorming and downpouring to where you barely could see the cars in front of you. I'm like, this is great. Here it is. I'm totally done. I'm trying to get home. I could barely see what's going on. I'm like, this is a bad recipe. So I was just, and that's when I was kind of trying to kick it back in, being like, okay, all right, you guys can ease up this, you guys can reign, just ease up on the heavy stuff. Let me pay attention so I don't hurt somebody and I don't hurt myself. Let's just get home safely. So give me a little bit. Let's do this. And so, um, but that's just kind of how it goes, But um, but yeah, I hope, and I'm not sure. I haven't seen that person. Hey, good morning, Donna. I haven't seen the person that wrote in about it, so maybe she'll watch this back when she sees this. Hopefully, that answered some of the questions about, psychic abilities and things. And and that's why I tell people too. I mean, in the beginning, when when you start going down this path, you can kind of decide what's kind of calling to you, and that's usually the thing that I find interesting is, it's nice to know, like, when I started doing the spiritual stuff and learning how to communicate with my guides, you know, you kind of, in that class, you kind of got a taste of a little of everything. Not that you were learning how to do paranormal stuff, but you got an opportunity where there's the kind of the foundations of things where there's, oh, you're fine, Jill. And there's neat that you can find those little things that I've been able to adapt and or expand where I'm at today. And that's the cool thing about it, is that there's a lot of little things that I learned, and you know it's just been so helpful in my progression. Now that, worked for me. Can I say that'll work for somebody else? I don't know. Again, it'll be different. I mean, I'd love to believe it and think that it'll happen, because if it was so profound for me, how much will it be for somebody else? Now, um I've known people that have taken the classes that I did, and they haven't done anything with it. I mean, they once in a while, touch base on it and things, but they're not using it like I do. I mean, I took it a little bit further. No, you're good, buddy. You're good, Jeff. Good to see you, man. um and so it's one of those things. All right, Cassie, what do you got? Do you think there can be a genetic, for lack of a better word, or a familiar link to psychic? You know, interesting, because that comes up a lot. And for me, I want to say there is. Does it mean that every generation before you uh, knows about what they're capable of, or has ever even experienced anything like that? I think there is some sort of connection, but then again, I think it's stronger in some, and I'll say families, and I'll use that as a kind of a loose term, but I'll say that because, you know, there's, I think, I think if some of the psychic mediums that are on TV, and ones that you guys have probably seen, sometimes they've shared information about like their parents or their grandparents, and how they were doing the same things. Granted, the further back you go, the more taboo it was. So it was things, that were pretty closed off, but they were really good at it. And, you know, going back, nobody ever said anything in my family, and my dad's in the chat room, and so he can easily, say that, he's never experienced anything out of the ordinary. And then, my mom's never, she's had a couple dreams about stuff, but they weren't like true psychic dreams. Experiencing, loved ones, and which is great, and did happen for the sake of purpose, because now I know why she had those dreams, but they weren't real like psychic moments that something was about to happen. Excuse me. So the and it goes back to all the things I've talked about, is that, there's been times where a lot of the stuff has been, pushed out. And I mean, you know, you could take different eras and you can see how they would, embrace, the psychics and the mediums and things. And they really, you know, their information was great. And then it's like they then somebody started saying, oh well, it's devil stuff and it's demonic and stuff. And so they started squashing those people and pushing them out. And so these people started running away and then not saying anything. And so we're now, over the last like good 10 years, 10, 15 years, at least in my opinion, at least 10, 15 years, there's been this expansion, and people are becoming woke, is another way to put that. Not in a modern way of saying woke, but I'm saying woke is the far, in the essence of, here's all these things that are in our systems, that we have these abilities, that now they're itching to come back out. And so that's why people are being connected to, you know mediumship or psychic stuff, and using all the tools of the trade when it comes to communicating. uh, it's just becoming more and more, and we're really being drawn it now. Yes, and we've have a lot of stuff on TV. There's a lot of things that are promoting all that, so we didn't have that obviously, a long time ago. But at the same time, you know when you get those bits of information, it's kind of like when they're bouncing around inside you, not just in your head, but bouncing around your energy field. It's starting to kind of pull things together and create that curiosity, and the drive to be like, you know what, I feel like I really need to do this. I feel like I'm connected to chat with others and things. So here it is, it's now, becoming more and more. And just like I did, it just was something that kept growing and growing. I can't obviously trace back to, anything, because, again, everybody was quiet, and I'm sure that was for a good reason, if they had anything, or they just dismissed it, and that's fine. Now I know I missed a bunch of comments, so let me scroll back up real quick. So hopefully that answers your message, Cassie. Let's see, what did Phil say? It opens. So he's saying, okay, when the door first begins to open. So one thing is, spirit guides don't necessarily use doors. They're just there. Um, so they're not. What they're going to do is help you prepare for whatever door you're going to work at to open. So for me, in the beginning, it was just learning all the foundations of everything. And so learning to talk to them and things, which, again, you don't need a door for that. And again, that could be taken different ways depending on what type of way you go. And that's a whole nother topic that maybe we'll save for another time. But the mediumship, I called that a door, because that I didn't have to open that door to talk to other things that, I was not connected to. So my guides are connected to me. They're there to help me out. And so I can just tap into them whenever I want. I don't have to go into a place to summon them. And again, this could be another topic for another time. There is moments where you do have to do that, but that's a long, long, long way of putting it, Phil. So we'll have to bring that up again, because I can go over that. And again, it'll take a lot longer than 16 minutes for me to get through before we're done at 10:30. So we'll hit that again. So just keep reminding me to put that, on. Maybe next week we can hit that. We'll see. And then but yeah, so as far as the mediumship door stuff, yeah, I mean, uh just- I mean, when you're opening that door for the first time, I mean, it's, for me, because I was going to talk to, things I didn't know about. There's a sense of nervousness, because, hey, am I going to be talking to something nice, or am I going to be talking to something mean or bad and stuff. So that's the chance you're taking. Granted, everything I did up to that point was helpful because it really helped me out with protection. I knew how to kind of keep my walls up so that way I can just, you know, deal with one thing at a time and not have to worry about things attacking me and stuff. So I appreciated what I had up to that point. So when I was ready to open that door, I was as good as I could be. Granted, it does help to be next to somebody when you're doing that. Whether it's you're physically sitting next to you, so that way they can kind of jump in if they need to pull something out, or do they need to give you some other guidance of how to, approach opening that door. So, first few times it could be a little nerve wracking because again, you just don't know. Now, if you're just doing stuff with your guides and stuff like that, I didn't never feel nervous working with them because I mean, you trust them beyond anything. I mean, they're the most trusted, set of guides, because you do change, but they're there. They ain't going to be, giving you garbage. They're not going to be playing games with you. I mean, they'll have some fun with you, but they're not going to be sitting there like pranking you or anything like that. But when it's business time, it's business time. I think, we're all in that where we know when we got to do something and be serious, that's how they are. If you ask a serious question and they know it, you can't sit there and like you could tell me something and all along, you're thinking, you're it's not true, whatever you're saying and stuff. But see, them, they know if you're telling the truth instantly. So you can't play games with them because they're connected to your soul and stuff. So that's a whole thing that you can't mess with them. So, uh, but I never felt weird. I mean, it was neat once I finally got to meet them and learn, who was doing what and for what part of me and my existence and stuff. So it's excitement, but yeah, obviously once I started doing the mediumship and then doing paranormal cases and stuff, that's where, you kind of rely on what you've been taught up to that point, and then you just kind of take precautions and, little by little, you build up confidence and then, when something bad comes through, it's not so much of being phased by it anymore because it's just you already know what's behind you, who's helping you, your protection and all that fun stuff. So let's see. Margaret saying it goes back 3 generations. All her kids have that. Yep. Jill. Yep. Jill, you've had, in your family. Cassie, okay, generation is now freely talked about. That's awesome, Cassie. I'm glad they're doing that. Everybody can talk about it. And that's great nowadays because I mean, it doesn't have to be weird. I mean, you can kind of tell if somebody's like in a schizophrenic kind of state where they're just like, really off the wall. I mean, you can tell that when I'm talking about things, it's not, you know, I'm not trying to make it really hokey and weird. I mean, I give you the points and stuff. You can kind of tell if somebody's, whether they have stability issues, schizophrenia. I mean, there's all those things, and you can kind of tell pretty quickly. I mean, there are people out there that'll still say some weird things, but yet at the same time have a conversation with somebody about anything. Hey, how was your day going? And yet not go into a different thing and be like, what are they what? So I think we probably have seen some of those people. And of course, we hope the best for them, and obviously we don't make fun of that at all, because that wouldn't be right. We hope that they can get help and things, and if there's something that you can provide to them saying, maybe you should talk to this person or something, and it kind of gets them to a point where maybe there's something they truly need that can help them be a little bit more and not so all over the place. But let's see. No problem. But yeah, I mean, I, you know, trying to think where else can I go with that. Um, but I mean, overall, I mean, I didn't when I did all the psychic stuff back in the beginning, it wasn't I wasn't sure, if I was just going to be trying to use that all the time. You know, of course, you want to, hey, good morning, Brenda. You know, some people always say, oh, you do psychic stuff. Well, and one of the running jokes, and even my father is, what's the winning lottery numbers? So, and to answer that is, as great as that would be, those of us that do the psychic stuff, and uh it's what is the gain that you're looking to achieve off of that? Who doesn't want to win the lottery and not have to worry about, the next paycheck, or, when you're going to get paid, and all that stuff. So, who wouldn't want it? But at the same time, there's a responsibility with what you can do. And I'm not going to sit there and jeopardize stuff, because there is kind of a greater being, so to speak, that, if you're going to abuse the stuff for your own personal gain, even if it's going to be for somebody else. So somebody says, well, can you tell me that, give me the numbers and I'll play it and win, there's still, it's not right. There is a guilt factor that I personally go through, that I have to know that, it's not for the greater good of me, and what I can do and what I can pick up and share. And, you know, there has to be a more important, um, resolution. I don't know. I can't think of the right word to do that, but I, you know, I don't do this stuff for my own good, because you guys don't see, I'm not sitting there sporting stuff. I use Facebook, because it's free. I don't have a website. I'd love to have a website. I'd love to have, some stuff, like merchandise and things, maybe some shirts and stuff like that. I would love to do things like that, but I don't. Eventually, I'm hoping I will. But you can see I'm not sitting there and begging for money and trying to become greedy at this, and stuff. And those of you that know me really personal, can tell I'm not doing this to toot my own horn or pat myself on the back. I mean, because I know what the results are if I do that. And there's a big thing called ego. And for me, and I'm not going to talk about anybody else, because that's not right. And um the for me, I know that if ego gets in the way, then the information's not going to be as good. It's going to be very clouded, and the possibility that it could just end. This whole thing could stop on a dime if I abuse it, trying to do something that's for my own good. And I'm not going to go down that road. It's just not going to happen. I don't, and if I do something, it would have to be in a joking manner, because they know that I'm just having fun with it. And I have said sometimes, I've been, well, I patted myself on the shoulder or something like that, and I joked about that. But there's an explanation for it if I'm going to do that. But at the same time, it's just not going to be that way. I mean, you know, I'm not looking to become famous. I mean, if things lined up, great. If they don't, it still doesn't change the fact of what I'm doing. I enjoy what I do. And that's the cool thing about it. I don't have to necessarily be on TV. I don't have to, you know, uh, do this, that, and the other. I just want to keep doing what I do. I want to help people. And if this is all I do for the rest of my days, that's cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't change what I'm doing. So I'm going to keep my ego where it needs to be, and it's going to be low. It's never going to fill up. And regardless, again, that's me. I know for me this is the right path, and I'm just not going to jeopardize it. And that's key. That's key. I can't speak for anybody else. What I mean? Of course, we've seen stories. You see mediums and stuff. They take advantages of clients and charging obscene amounts of money for, you know, getting rid of spirits in their homes, or connecting with their loved ones. That's on them. You know what I mean? And it's a shame that it happens. It puts a bad light on us that do this, for the greater good. And you know, it's unfortunate, and it's just something that we just have to deal with, just like dealing with trolls and, the cyberpunks and stuff like that, that are, gonna say horrible things like in chat rooms, or, give you, horrible ratings on your stuff. I mean, it's just how it is. There's no way around it. But uh, you know, uh, again, that's on them. It's not who I am. And those of you that get the chance to know me and talk to me and hang out with me, and all that fun stuff, and when we can see each other face to face, you can tell You can tell. I mean, I like to have fun. I like to make people smile. I like to share information, um, whether it's the best or the worst. I'm still willing to share it. I'm always learning, so I'm not no know it all, and I'll never claim to be because again, that's an ego thing, and I'm always learning from somebody. And it could be a lot of the people that are in the chat room. They could share something and be like, "Wow, I never thought of that," and that's awesome. You know what I mean? And so that's how I am. I'm gonna continue to do what I do. Yeah, see, just started singing, then I look over and I see um, Lindsay and Jeff, and oh, thanks, Carolyn, and yeah, it's just it's fun, I mean, and again, if you come in with this with the right intention, and again, your guides and stuff are going to help you out, whether you use it, where you use your guides for yourself, or you're going to have them help you out with expanding further to help others. I mean, they're going to help define your path for you. Plus, you yourself have to take time to think about it. And, um, I knew at first, I was like, when I started the journey, which was 2005, once I started that spiritual journey, I mean, I knew at least it would be helping me out, which again, that's not a, ego thing. That's just helping me be a better person. Can I interact with people differently? Can I, uh, you know, even just being somebody that will is willing to listen to somebody, I mean, we all want to, some of us want to talk more than we listen, and some of us want to listen more than we talk, and there's no real right or wrong. And so that's for me, as much as I can talk for an hour, I'm pointing at the clock. I can at the same time listen to somebody tell me things for an hour. It really is irrelevant in my world. So um, let's see. Sorry, I'm reading. Oh, I appreciate that, Margaret. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and then you get like Margaret's a client of mine, and her late husband, he has a lot of fun, and he will he does certain things that we can't help but sit there and laugh and over it, because it's just things that he did when he was around, and so it's fun when he shows me the stuff, and I'm like, why is he doing this? And she's laughing. She's like, oh, you know, that's him, So and that's the fun stuff too, is getting those reactions, and everybody can have a laugh, and it just makes it so much more worth it and stuff. Yeah, Dad, you should listen up more, right? uh, but so yeah, a couple minutes left. Yeah, so we should be, we're everything's still good. We should be all set for next week, which I guess once again I did not look up. Again, that's just the way it 19th. Okay. So we got the 19th. Is next weekend, so that is still a go. I don't really have anything set, which is cool. Um, other than that, there's not too much. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else during the week that I am missing out on? Not too much. Debbie and I are hoping to be back on our Wednesday night this week. She's gotten a lot of stress behind her. So those of us that follow our Beyond the Silence radio page, we should be back on track there. So that'll be kind of fun. Oh, Brenda? Okay, yeah, we can answer that. Hi, Kim. How you doing? Hope you're feeling better. Um, so Brenda was asking, did your parents freak out? It was, and my dad's in the chat room, so he could even almost write what his first thoughts were. You know, it, yeah, I mean, well, yeah, my dad just said it. No, he didn't. Yeah, it's, I mean, how do you approach it? And it was weird because, I obviously didn't say a whole lot until a lot later in life. And, I was, in my 20s at that point. Hey, Phil, you have a good weekend too, man. I hope you keep firing up that Christmas stuff, man. I keep seeing those posts. What movies are this weekend, buddy? Oh, Brenda, I mean, your mom was freaking out over it. Um, it hits everybody different. I mean, I think it's, where it comes back to, who they are, and, their beliefs. I mean, a lot of us have, opened up about stuff, and even then, even with my dad listening, I mean, if for any odd reason that my dad and my mom, really didn't, appreciate it or didn't approve of it and stuff, I mean, it's not going to stop me from doing what I want to do, Um, I just obviously wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't talk about it, because there is people, in the family and stuff that it's not a favorite subject, and so I just don't talk about it, and that's okay. I'm not here to sit there and push anything down somebody's throat. I'm not that kind of person. If you want to talk about it and you have questions, I'll be glad to answer it. If you don't want to, that's fine too. We got other things that we have in common, so we'll move on. But yeah, I mean, it's it. They were great, and nobody thought differently, and so I just kind of was able to keep doing my thing. And like I said, even if they didn't, I would still be doing. I would nothing would change. My dad wouldn't be watching and commenting. So if he really hated it, so um, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So uh, cool. All right. Well, I am going to let everybody get back to finishing up their mornings and get going with the rest of the day. Whether you got shopping plans or decorating plans or and whatnot, and hopefully you will enjoy it. Those of us that are in the rain, which a good part of us in the Midwest are, and then some of my friends in the Upper Michigan are getting dumped on with snow. So hopefully you're staying dry and you're staying warm. Oh, no worry, Jennifer, you're good. No worries. And but hopefully everybody's dealing with some type of uh wet weather, you're safe about it. And you're welcome, Jill. And we will be back on the 19th. I don't know for sure. I still haven't finalized. Yes, you too, Kim. I still haven't finalized if I can. There's some people I wanted to try to get on. And obviously, I'm running out of weeks here, because even then, I know um, the one after that is on the 26th. You too, Carrie. Thank you. And even then, I'm still kind of iffy on the 26th. So, because I know it's the day after Christmas and a lot of people are kind of relaxing. So, that one I've been kind of now second guessing if I want to be on that morning after Christmas, because I know everybody's, there could still be parties, going on the 26th. So I don't know. So maybe some of you, whether it's writing right now or I'll put a post up, during the week, if that's even a good idea, because obviously, I mean, I could do a show, but if I'm really by myself, then that'd be pretty sad. But so I don't know. We'll see about the 26th, or maybe I move it to the 27th or something. I don't know if people really still want to have a morning gathering or not, so we can kind of decide together what we want to do that weekend. But other than that, so yes. So again, have a great day. Have a great rest of your weekend. Stay warm, stay dry, and have a great week. Lots of cool things are coming up. Obviously, the holidays are, so hopefully everybody's getting ready for that and finish up that shopping. That's a key thing. And yeah, we will see you guys, whether it's in the okay, Carrie. Well, hey, that's a vote. I will. That's one vote in, so that's great. Appreciate it. Um, yeah, I mean, it's in the morning, so I mean, who doesn't want to just be able to relax a little bit in the morning? I guess it depends on how many late people are going to be partying Christmas night. So, but right. Anyway, so we'll see you guys. I'll try to have some post out this week, and I know there's been some other things was kind of hoping to get to, and because I haven't been feeling great. Maybe I can get to that and get some of those popped up too before the end of the year's out. If not, we'll definitely do some things in January. But I'm trying. But like I said, I'm trying to weigh everything out for me and make sure I feel all right. So, all right. So we will see you guys in post this week. And if not, I will see you next Saturday. So again, have a great day, great weekend, great week. And you guys have been watching the Mid Morning Medium Chat with Adam the Black Swamp Medium. And I will see you again next week. Take care. Good night. Goodbye. Good morning. All that fun stuff. Take care, everybody. Thanks.